Imagine a war that claimed more lives than World War I. A conflict so vast and devastating it reshaped a nation, yet remains a footnote in many history books. This is the story of the Taiping Rebellion, one of the deadliest civil wars in human history. It all began in the mid-19th century. China, under the Qing dynasty, was a nation in crisis. The Opium Wars had humiliated the empire, exposing its military weakness and forcing it to sign unequal treaties. Famine and poverty were rampant, and the ruling Manchu class was seen by many Han Chinese as corrupt and alien. The stage was set for an explosion, and the spark came from a man named Hong Xiuquan. Hong was a frustrated scholar who had failed the imperial civil service exams multiple times. After one such failure, he fell into a delirious fever. In his visions, he was transported to a heavenly kingdom. There, a golden-bearded old man gave him a sword and tasked him with slaying demons. A younger man, whom Hong called his elder brother, stood by his side, teaching him how to fight. When he recovered, Hong was a changed man. He initially didn't understand the meaning of his visions, but a few years later, a Christian pamphlet fell into his hands. Suddenly, it all clicked. The old man in his vision was God the Father. The elder brother was Jesus Christ, and he, Hong Xiuquan, was the second son of God, Jesus' younger brother, sent to Earth to eradicate the demons the ruling Manchuzan, to establish a heavenly kingdom of great peace on Earth. What started as a small religious sect, the God Worshippers Society, quickly swelled with followers. They were drawn to Hong's message of equality, land reform, and the promise of a better life. The movement offered a radical vision. Land would be shared, property held in common, and men and women were declared equal. Women even served as soldiers and administrators in the Taiping army. This was revolutionary. They banned opium, alcohol, and gambling. Their strict moral code resonated with peasants who felt abandoned by the Qing government. In 1851, Hong Xiuquan officially declared the establishment of the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom and proclaimed himself the Heavenly King. The rebellion had begun. Their army, fired by religious zeal and disciplined organization, swept through southern China with astonishing speed. They were a formidable force, their long hair in defiance of the Qing mandate to wear a Q hairstyle earning them the name Long-Haired Rebels. 2 years later, in 1853, the Taiping rebels captured one of China's greatest cities. They renamed it Tianjin, the heavenly capital, and made it the heart of their new kingdom. From here, they would rule a territory roughly the size of France for over a decade. For a moment, it seemed like the Qing dynasty was on the verge of collapse. The Heavenly Kingdom sent armies north to capture Beijing and west to expand their domain. The Qing court was in a panic. Their own banner armies were ineffective and corrupt. They had to rely on new, regional armies raised by local scholar officials like Zhang Gofan. These new armies, funded by local gentry, and motivated by a desire to protect Confucian tradition from the Taiping's radical Christianity, became the main force fighting the rebellion. The war devolved into a brutal, grinding conflict. Cities were besieged for years, leading to unimaginable starvation and suffering. Major battles, like the Third Battle of Nanjing and the Battle of Anqing, were colossal clashes involving hundreds of thousands of soldiers. The fighting was savage. No quarter was given, and massacres of entire city populations were common on both sides. The Yangtze River Delta, one of China's most prosperous regions, was turned into a desolate wasteland. Inside the heavenly capital, things began to fall apart. Hong Xiuquan grew increasingly paranoid and detached, retreating into his palace with his many wives and concubines, issuing decrees through scripture. Power struggles erupted among his top generals. In 1856, a bloody internal purge saw thousands of the original Taiping elite and their followers killed. This self-inflicted wound was catastrophic. The rebellion never fully recovered its early momentum and unity. Foreign powers also played a decisive role. Initially, Western nations were somewhat sympathetic to the Taiping rebels, seeing them as a potential Christian movement that could open up China. But as they witnessed the Taiping's radicalism and their unwillingness to honor the treaties the Qing had signed, their attitude changed. They saw the Qing government as the more stable, predictable partner for trade. So, Western military officers, like Frederick Townsend Ward and Charles Chinese Gordon, led a modern, well-equipped mercenary force called the Ever-Victorious Army to help the Qing. Their modern weaponry and tactics proved devastating against the Taiping armies. By the early 1860s, the tide had turned completely. The Qing forces, reorganized and rearmed, began a systematic encirclement of the Taiping territory. One by one, their strongholds fell. The final act was the siege of the heavenly capital, Nanjing. The city was surrounded and completely cut off. Inside, starvation was rampant. In June 1864, with his kingdom crumbling, Hong Xiuquan died. The official cause was illness, but some accounts suggest he took his own life. Just over a month later, the Qing army breached the city walls. What followed was a massacre. The city was burned to the ground, and it's said that over 100,000 people were killed in just 3 days. The Taiping Rebellion was over. The final death toll is staggering. While exact numbers are impossible to verify, historians estimate that between 20 and 30 million people died. Let that sink in. That's more than the entire population of Australia today. It was, without a doubt, one of the bloodiest conflicts in human history. So, why is this cataclysmic event so rarely discussed in the West? There are a few reasons. The American Civil War was happening at the same time, naturally drawing more attention from English-speaking historians. The rebellion also doesn't fit neatly into simple narratives. It was a complex mix of religious fanaticism, social revolution, and ethnic conflict that is difficult to summarize. Furthermore, in China itself, the rebellion's legacy is complicated. For a time, the Chinese communists praised the Taiping as a proto-communist peasant uprising against the feudal system. But today, the devastating death toll and the religious extremism of its leadership make it a difficult event to celebrate. The Taiping Rebellion serves as a powerful, tragic reminder of how social inequality, government corruption, and foreign pressure can combine with charismatic, extremist ideology to unleash unimaginable destruction. It bled China dry, delayed its ability to modernize, and set the stage for another half-century of turmoil that would eventually lead to the fall of the Qing dynasty. It is a scar on the face of history, and a story that deserves to be remembered. Thanks for watching.